This is Archie Green and Gene Earl in Monticello, Kentucky, visiting Dick Burnett, one of the old-time instrumentalists and folk singers who made commercial recordings in the 20s and 30s. It's August the 17th, 1962, and we're in Dick's home. What is your address here?
Monticello, College Street, Box 123.
Box 123, College Street, Monticello. In what county?
Wayne County.
Where were you born, Dick?
Born in the head of Elk Spring Valley, about 7 miles from here.
Is that Elk?
On a farm.
E-L-K?
Elk Spring, E-L-K.
Is that about 7 miles from
7 miles from here. The elks used to be lots of elks in the head of the valley, and there's a large spring up there, and they come there for water, and they named the valley after that spring, Elk Spring.
When you were a boy, did you ever see the elk?
No, they was gone before I knowed anything about it.
But you knew that why they gave it
the name.
Oh,
yes, I knew why they gave it the name. I was raised on the farm, 252 acres.
What did you grow on the farm?
Well, wheat, corn, potatoes, cabbage, all kinds of vegetables. And we had 3 large apple orchards, lots of cherry trees, plum orchard. Everything we needed on the farm. We didn't have to buy much.
I don't believe we asked you your birth date. When were you born?
1883, October.
October what?
1883.
Oh.
The 8th.
Oh, October the 8th, 1883. Could you tell me your father's full name and your mother's full name?
Reuben was my father's name.
Reuben Burnett.
And Martha was my mother's name.
What was her maiden name?
Fairchild.
Martha Fairchild.
And Bijah Fairchild was her father.
Were they from this county, from Wayne County?
Yes, she was raised about 10 miles from here. My mother was.
Where did the Burnett family, where did it live before it came to Wayne County?
Our ancestors come from Old Virginia.
Old Virginia.
Jonesboro, Virginia.
Jonesboro.
Jonesville, Virginia.
Or Jonesville.
Lee County.
Lee County, Virginia.
Yes.
Good. Do you know about when they came to Kentucky?
No, I don't. I guess it is, well, it's been 100 and something years ago.
How many?
150, I guess, right around it. They come into this country. My grandfather, his name was Jimmy.
Jimmy Burnett.
Was my grandfather.
Yeah. Did you have any brothers or sisters?
Yes.
How many?
There was 5 of us boys and 4 girls. And 3 of my brothers, one lives in Kansas. All the brother I've got living now. Edney, Kansas.
Kansas?
Yes, Edney, Kansas. 35 miles from Coulterville. And then his name was George. Bijah was the older one. And Ed, they're both dead. And John was the oldest boy of the family. He lived in Paris, Texas. He left here when I was 4 years old. And he never was back here but one time. And he's dead now. And my 2 sisters, the 2 oldest sisters, they're dead too. I have 2 sisters in Oakland, California. My baby sister and one 3 years older than myself.
When did you first start developing an interest in music?
Well, I guess I was about 7 years old. We had an old-fashioned dulcimer there, and I wanted to learn to play something, so I got me a goose quill and sharpened it to make me a pick. And then he got me another goose quill. My mother raised lots of geese and made me quill to run up and down on the fingerboard to note with. And I had to tiptoe to a little table to be high enough to get up so I could pick that thing and play it. But I could sing. My mother said I could sing when I was 4 years old, and my daddy would carry me around in his arms, and I'd help him sing songs when I was 4 years old. But I don't remember that part of it.
Well,
but I do remember my daddy. I was just 4 years old and he died.
Oh.
And I wasn't but 12 when my mother died.
Hmm.
And I went picking the banjo then. My uncle, my daddy's brother, I wanted the banjo, and he gave my mother money to order me a banjo with. He was a rich man. And she had him to order me a banjo, a merchant to order me a banjo. And I learned to play that when I was 9 years old. And I played it ever since.
Gee. What other instruments did you
Well,
play when you were young?
I played the guitar. I recorded records with the violin and with the guitar and with the banjo. I played all of them, recorded with all of them. And then I could play the organ, I could play the piano, and I played some little gadgets. You might have found a whistle to put on the nose, and you could blow that, you could hear a quarter of a mile in connection with my guitar. And I'd blow that a while and then sing, and play my guitar.
What was the name of that instrument you put on your nose?
Humanophone.
Humanophone.
O-F-O-N-E, I think was the way it's spelled. It was just a whistle with a elastic strap went around your head to hold it on your nose.
Where did you get this instrument?
I ordered it from Sir Roebuck.
About when? How old were you when you
I
played that instrument?
was blind then.
Oh, well.
That ain't been. That's been about 35 years ago.
We might ask you, when did you lose your eyesight? What year?
Well,
or how old were you?
I lost my eyesight in 1906.
1906. About how old were you then?
Well, I'd have been 23 at my birth, I guess.
See.
Something like that.
But by then you were already playing different instruments.
Oh yes, I was
singing,
playing all these things. And then I ordered me a Honor Ready. Now a Honor Ready. I wouldn't know how you spell it, but that's the way I pronounce it. A little long thing about a foot long, I guess, with notes on either side. And you blew that like a band instrument, a horn, and then noted them notes on either side of that. I could play hornpipes or anything I wanted to on that thing.
Where did you get this? Was this also Sir Roebuck?
I ordered it from Sir Roebuck.
Maybe we could find them in the old catalog.
You might find it. If you have an old catalog, you still might find one.
When did you buy this particular instrument? Can you remember, or how many years ago?
By which?
This Honor Ready. When did you buy it?
Oh, I bought it when I was traveling before I ever made records. Long before I ever made records. It's been right around 35, 40, about 40 years ago, I guess I had that thing.
That leads to the question, what kind of work did you do when you were young? At first you did farming, but
oh yeah, I did
what was
farming.
your first regular work where you were
paid? And then I run a wheat thresher, a year and a half in this county. And then I logged. I worked in the log woods. We logged.
Where? Where were the
On
woods?
the home farm where I was raised.
Oh.
We cut all that timber out there and logged it, and I run a sawmill for a while. And then I quit that and went into the oil field when the oil boom come to this country about, I guess 60 years ago.
Was that in this county?
Yes.
Where did you work in the oil field? What part of the
Well, I
county?
worked out at Cooper out here on Beaver Creek.
Beaver Creek.
And I worked in the head of Elk Spring Valley, worked on the Bolden Roberts farm. That was the first oil well that's ever got in Elk Spring Valley, and I worked on it.
But
1901.
See. Did they have any name for the work that you did? Were you a roustabout or driller or wildcatter?
Well, I was a driller. I was the youngest driller in the county.
See.
I went to work tool dressing. I tool dressed on the well on the home farm 1,503 feet deep. And Eugene Williams from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania was a contractor, and he had the lease on the farm. And I went to work for him, and I just learned it right quick. It didn't take me long to learn it. And I went to drilling.
What is a tool dresser?
He's a fellow that helps hammer out them big bits, and sharpen them
Yeah.
to put back on the stem, He's the tool dresser, and the driller, he's the man that handles the tools when they're drilling.
Yeah, so you started as a tool dresser and you ended up as a driller.
Yeah. And then I worked at Palmersville out here. That's about 15 miles from Monticello. I worked in that oil field out there quite a while.
What kind of work did you do after you left the oil field?
Well, I didn't do any. After I left the oil field, I worked right on up till just before I lost my eyes.
Oh.
And I was running a barber shop when I lost my eyes.
Was that when you turned to music after you lost your eyesight?
No.
I mean, when
I played all this music before I lost my eyes.
No, but when...
I mean, the most of it.
When did you begin going on the road with your music, traveling?
Oh, I was about a couple of years, 3 years maybe after I lost my eyes. About 3 years, I guess, 2 or 3. I don't know exact. And this feller, Leonard Rutherford.
Where was he from?
He's from Somerset, and I knew his father and mother, and I asked him one day, I had nobody to travel with me, and I asked him if they cared for him going with me. He was about 13, 14 years old, knee pants on, little cap. They said no. Said if he wanted to go, and he could play a tune or two on the fiddle, sort of learning. And he said, well, I'd love to go. Well, they said, go on with him. And I says, you mind, Dick, you do what he tells you, and say, stay right with him. And he told me, he says, you take care of the boy now. I said, I'll do that. Well, we played the London Fair. That was the first trip that he ever made with me, is London Fair, Laura County.
Earl County, Kentucky.
Yeah, 14 miles from Corbin.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, he just traveled on with me, and later his father died and his mother died, and he just stayed with me and played with me 35 years before we finally broke up.
Well, in those days, was that before they had automobiles?
Yes.
How did you travel
We
then?
traveled by train.
Well, was there any train in Monticello?
No, wasn't no train here. Charlie Burton had a bus that went from here to Burnside. And I was drawn by 4 big horses. And he had 24 horses.
Oh.
And he'd drive them halfway from here to Burnside, and then had a stabilizer, take them 4 out and put in 4 new ones. Drive them on to Burnside, and then when he left Burnside, he had a stabilizer, he'd get 4 more there, and drive them back to the halfway stand, get 4 more there, and drive them back to Monticello.
Well, was Burnside where you got the train?
Burnside's where we got the train at.
What train was it?
Well, the Southern is Southern Railroad. Used to be Queen and Crescent, but they sold out to the Southern Railroad, and it's the Southern now, from Cincinnati to Chattanooga.
And then from there you went traveling to make your music with Rutherford.
We traveled by train, then on up till later I bought a car, and then we traveled 14 years in the car.
Well, in this period when you were traveling in the car, how far did you travel to make your music?
Well,
What states did you go
we
to?
played from Florida back to Ohio. That's as far north as we went, and we covered Georgia and Florida, and West Virginia and Old Virginia, Tennessee and Kentucky, and almost all of it.
Did you ever play in the coal camps?
That's what I done. I played all the coal camps almost that I could hear tell of. I made good money in coal camps.
Why did you make good money in the coal camps?
Well, miners worked of a day and they didn't get to go nowhere. You know, they worked regularly, and there wasn't nowhere to go then. Really, there wasn't no parks hardly, and nowhere to go. And all you had to do was just advertise the theater, and they'd pack it. Good crowds everywhere. And lots of times I'd send my bills to the superintendent of the camp, and he'd bill them out for me and have it all ready before even I got there.
Did you get to know quite a few coal miners that way?
Oh, I did, but I've forgotten the names. You know, I played for millions of people, and I forgot the names. A lot of people.
Did you like to play in the coal camps?
Oh, yes, I like
good
to
audience?
play. Really, I like to play anywhere where I can make good money. Because that's all the way I had, you know. And I love to play anyhow. I always like music.
Dick, you mentioned that you had your partner, Leonard Rutherford. Could you tell me some of your other partners, some of the other
Yes,
people you went on the road
I can. I recorded with Oscar Rutledge, Atlanta, Georgia, for the Columbia Phonograph Company. But first, me and Leonard Rutherford recorded there 3 different times for him. And then me and Oscar Rutledge recorded for him down there. And then I had Lynn Woodard. He recorded with me in Richmond, Indiana. And me and Leonard and Bert Moore from Norton, Virginia recorded records there a couple of times. And then me and Bert Moore made records once at Richmond, Indiana. And I've been in almost all them towns in southern Indiana. And lots of them in Ohio. I used to broadcast out of WLW in Cincinnati. They give me $10 an hour there. Me and Leonard. And we made pretty good there. And then I have broadcasted over at Renfro Valley. And I broadcast once at Muncie, Indiana. And I played all those places, all up through there. And you named last night about good fiddlers. I remembered that name that I tried to tell you last night. Bob Simmons.
Bob
Simmons. He used to play over at Renfro Valley, and he's an awful good fiddler. And Charlie Miller. He played there for years, but he's almost dead of cancer, as he is not dead. He's got cancer of the stomach, and last I heard, he wasn't able to work. I've heard him play, been with him, talked with him, and he was a good fiddler, too. And these other fellows who used to travel with me was a fellow by the name of Ed Bybee. He lives here in town. He's one of the best guitar pickers in this county.
What's his name?
Ed Bybee.
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 P-I-B-E?
Yeah, Bybee, B-Y-B-Y, I guess, is the way you spell it. And he traveled with me before the Korean War. He traveled with me a year or two, I guess. And then Wiley Raines, he was with me 4 years. He was a banjo picker.
Wiley Raines.
Wiley Raines. He was raised in this county.
Well, there were some men who traveled with you who made records, and some men who traveled with you who didn't make records.
Well, Wiley and Ed Bybee never helped me record any records. They just traveled with me and played recreation buildings, and government camps, and theaters and places like that, school auditoriums and places like that.
Could you tell me the circumstances of how you happened to make your very first record? What brought that about?
Yes, I was putting on these programs, like I told you, different places, and in these coal camps, and these people come to me and said, "Why don't you put on records?" Well, I said, "I've never had an opportunity to." I said, "I would if I could have a chance." And you know, them fellas went to writing these recording companies, and pretty quick we went to getting letters from them and asked if we would consider recording records for them. And I had them to write and told them we would, and they sent back and told us give us the date when we started in on it. It's very easy.
Where did you go from here, from Monticello to Atlanta?
Yes, we went from here to Atlanta, Georgia.
Was that by train or by car?
No, by train. We went by train.
Same way you went up to Burnside and took the Southern?
Yeah, same way. And they paid all our expenses there and back.
Who was there that supervised the session?
Frank B. Walker was the superintendent from 1819 Broadway, New York, and Bill Brown was his helper.
Could you tell me something about Frank Walker, what he did at the session? That is, when you went to Atlanta, you never knew Frank Walker before.
No, I didn't know him at all, no.
You went to the,
he told me to come up, he told me where to come to, and we went down that night and something funny happened to us. I just almost had pneumonia here, and I wasn't hardly able to sit up, and I got a call, and he said, come at once. Well, my fever was 103, and just a day or two before, and the doctor told me, he said, you not, all the fever's not from your lungs. He said, you've got a touch of malaria. He says, get you a bottle of Smith's Winter Chill tonic and take it, and I believe that'll knock that fever out. I did, and in a day or two, the fever all left me. Well, I wasn't hardly able to sit up. But I went to Burnside. I got my boy to go with me to Burnside, I believe, that time. And we got on the train, went to Atlanta, and I didn't feel like sitting up, so I put my fiddle case under my head and went back in the smoker, one of those long seats, and I laid down, put my fiddle case under my head for a pillow, and I laid down, going all the way down to Atlanta. Only when I had to change trains. And when we got there, we landed up at the La Salle Hotel. That's where we went to stay all night. And the elevator run right up and down next to our room, streak all night long. And I examined the bed after we'd done contacted it, and it had lumps in the mattress as big as your fist all over it. And we laid there all night, and I never slept a wink. Never slept any at all. I got up next morning, went out to 60th Street, Peachtree Street, and Mr. Walker's there, and I says, listen, neighbor, I said, I never slept none last night, and I'm sick. And I said, I don't believe I can record records this morning. Now he says, I'll tell you what to do. He says, you just get you a good place today and rest till in the morning. And said, it'll be just as good in the morning, about 8:30. Well, there's a fellow there, a fiddler. He says, why don't you go down with me to down here right across the street from the city auditorium? He says, I've got a good boarding house down there. He says, get your meals, good nice beds and everything. He said, reasonable. I says, that's just what we'll do. And we went down with him, and I laid around in the bed and rested that day, and my fiddler and him played and practiced around there all day. Next morning we went up and put them on record. Made a good job of it.
Can you remember who this other fiddler was?
I believe he was a Thompson. I'm not sure, but I believe his name was Thompson.
Wouldn't be Ernest Thompson, would it, by chance?
I don't know. I wouldn't tell you what his given name was, but I believe he was a Thompson. He's a fine fella.
Well, at your first session, did Mr. Walker tell you the songs that he wanted you to sing, or did you choose your own songs?
No, he asked me what I had, and I told him I had a bunch of good ones. And he said, all right. He said, what's the name? I told him what the name was. He says, them names are the most tantalizing names I ever heard in my life for songs. And we recorded them, and he said, well, I'm pleased with it. Now, he said, I've had men here that made more noise than you fellas had, but you're the smoothest musicians I've had record for me. Well, I thanked him, and after we recorded the second or third time, he said, now I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you fellas a free trip to New York and pay all your expenses there and back. Now, I said, Mr. Walker, now I'd rather not do that. I said, if I had to go to New York, couldn't see nothing. I've been totally blind all these years. I said, just be like sitting here. I said, I wouldn't want to worry myself with a trip like that. He said, well, if you don't want to do that, he says, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll give you the money it takes to make the trip. You can put it in your pocket. Well, that'd be all right. I said, that's it. Now, I said, that suits me. And he gave me the money. I come back home.
Dick, can you remember some of the songs that you recorded for Columbia, and tell me a little? I'd like to know a little about the songs.
No, I can't sing none of them. It's been about 13 years now since I played anywhere, and they've vanished from my mind. I couldn't sing any of the songs.
Oh, I don't want you to sing them. Just if you remember the
Lost
name.
John and When the Roses Bloom Again. That was the best record. That sold more than any of the rest that we ever had. And then the Curly-Headed Woman, and the Ramblin' Reckless Hobo, and the Little Stream of Whiskey. And Are You Happy or Lonesome?
So what I wanted to know, like, take that song, Little Stream of Whiskey. Where did you learn that song?
Well, now my fiddler, he learned that from somebody. And he liked his whiskey, and he always wanted to play that, and people had asked him to play it. And I played that with him for, I guess, 25 years, and I never did learn that song, because I don't drink myself, never fooled with whiskey, and he did, and he'd always sing it, and I never did try to learn it, and I never did. I never sang it in my life.
Sure. How about a piece that you did later, Blackberry Blossom?
Well, now me and Oscar Rutledge recorded that, and that song, Ed Haley, it was the first man that ever played that in the state of Kentucky that I know of, and he was a blind fiddler in Ashland, Kentucky. I played in Ashland, Kentucky, different times, and he'd go down every day down there to meet the crowds, you know, coming in there, and he was a good fiddler. And he played that, and then Bob Johnson at Peaceville, Kentucky, he learned it. I don't know whether he learned it from Ed Haley or who he got it from, but he was the next man that I ever heard play it. And he lived at Peaceville, Johnson County, on Big Sandy River. And I put on the fiddlers contest there at Peaceville one night, and we had lots of fiddlers there. And Bob Johnson was one of them fiddlers. And Levi Fairchild was one of the fiddlers. And there's some more, I forgot their names now. But Bob played that, and I caught that. I got my fiddle, and I had him play it, and I caught the tune. And then me and Oscar Rutledge recorded it for the Columbia people.
Well, on that,
but I don't know where it originated. Don't know who made it. Don't know anything about it.
On that Blackberry Blossoms, did they ever sing a song with that melody?
No, there's no words to it. Never did hear any words. So just a violin, just a fiddle, old-time hillbilly fiddle piece.
Did you ever hear any story? Did you ever hear any story about connected with that?
No, never did.
Just a fiddle piece.
Just a fiddle tune. So.
Would you just tell me again the name of the man you first heard play it?
Well,
up in Ashland.
Bob Johnson is the first man I heard play it, but I talked to the other people that I'd heard Ed play it lots of times there in Ashland.
Well, on this Bob Johnson note, when did you hear him play it?
Well, when I put the Fiddlers Contest on there, I put a Fiddlers Contest on at Peaceville, and one at Salyersville, McGoffin County, and one at Prestonburg. On up the river 40 miles. I put on 3 fiddlers contests on Big Sandy River.
So about when was that? About what year, approximately?
Well, I don't know. I never kept any dates of any of it. I guess it's been 25, 30 years ago. No. Haven't been that long, I guess.
Maybe longer. Was it how many years before you made records, was it?
Well, it's after I made records, J.C. I put on records about 37, 38 years ago. This was before, I guess. No? It's after we recorded. Well, I'd say 25 years ago, something like that.
Well, I'm not too concerned with the dates as long as we know that you learned it up in Ashland.
Yeah.
Now, in addition to the songs that you learned from other people, you made up some songs of your own.
Oh, yes. I composed lots of songs myself and recorded some of them on record.
Oh, but what would be a song? Give me an example of a song that you made up by yourself.
Well, I composed a song about how I lost my eyes in 1906. The song of the orphan boy, and that's in that songbook I told you about. I composed all of that song and made the tune, set the music to it, and timed it out and everything.
So when you called it the Orphan Boy?
Song of the Orphan Boy. My father and mother was both dead, you see, when I lost my eyes. And oh, I once was a man who worked hard in this land for support. I worked hard every day. I worked in the old green on a 7-star machine, but now, dear friends, I cannot see my way. Now, that's the first verse of it. But I can't sing it all. I
Yeah.
forgot part of it.
Well, we have the melody now, and we can get the words from the songbook. You don't happen to have a copy of that songbook here, do you?
No, I'd give a... You know what I had? I had them books, songbooks, and I had a large scrapbook in my trunk. I had it pasted full of song ballads. And somebody hooked it and got every one of them.
See. Did you make
And I never know who got it.
Did you make up a song about a butcher once?
Yeah, the Jolly Butcher.
Could you tell us that story?
Well, I can't sing it.
No, just so we get the story.
Well, this feller, he run a butcher shop, you know, and he liked his dram pretty well, and I was trading with him. He'd say, well, that's a little over. Let it go. No make no difference. And I seen my pieces of meat was getting awful small for what I was paying, and I went to having another merchant right close to where his butcher shop was, weighing after. And he was licking me out of a quarter, a half a pound of meat every time I was buying any. He was having me that way, you know. Yeah, and so I quit him, and I done spent a whole lot of money with him. I know I had to have somebody to get my money back that I'd spent. So I just made this song, and I sold 4,000 copies of it, 10 cents a piece.
Who printed it for you?
Well, different people. I had some printed here in Monticello, and I had some printed, lots, thousand or two printed in Somerset. I had some printed in Russell County over here, Jamestown, Russell County, and different places. Wherever I sold out and got scared, I'd just go to the printer office and print more, you know.
Is that also in your songbook? That butcher song?
Yes, it's in there.
What name did you give the song?
The Jolly Butchers.
What melody did you use? Could
Well,
you just give us a little
well,
idea of the melody?
Father and son run the butcher shop. I didn't know, but I just about got there. There knew the meat, 25 cents a pound. Twice good weight when it likes 10 pounds, and it's hard times and a bad way to live. Come on, boys, don't be so lazy. The butcher shop's the place to get your pork chop and gravy.
I like that. Before we ask about the other songs, what I wanted to do is get what I can from memory first, Gene. I would like to ask a little. You just mentioned the names of your friends with whom you made records, like Rutherford and the others. I'd like to ask you just to tell me a word or two about each one, where he came from, and what kind of work he did, so that we might be able to get some stories on all of your partners. And
Well,
we
now-
start with your
How you had met them.
yes, your first partner. Just you told us.
Well, Leonard Rutherford was raised in Somerset, and his daddy was a drunkard.
Oh,
I just tell you the way it goes.
Yeah.
And Leonard, for the last 20 years, would just drink all the time, and I begged him for 20 years, like a daddy, to stop it, and he wouldn't do it. And he finally went to having epileptic convulsions. And that's the reason that me and him had to quit. He'd just fall dead on the street and wouldn't know anything 40, 50 minutes. And I seen he was going to get me killed, and I told him he just had to quit.
Did he ever do any work? Did he ever have any trade?
No,
or
he
profession?
sold rocks at work, I think.
He didn't like to work.
No, and called it a liar and said he'd get a payday and never come. No, I'll tell you, he wouldn't work, but he was the best fiddler in the United States. He's one of the best. And I traveled 30 years, and I think I know, and I've played with hundreds of musicians. I played with Riley Puckett, and I played with Mac Mitchell, and I know Low Stokes and Gid Tanner and all them boys there, and then I played with all the musicians in this country here. They've all played with me. But he was a good one. Oscar Rutledge, he was from North Carolina. He was from High Point, North Carolina. And I don't know, he worked in the mines. I don't know what other kind of work he ever done, if any.
Tell me how you met him. How did you meet him?
Well, I was at Jenkins, Kentucky, and, really I was at Wise, Virginia, Kentucky, and my fiddler, he got him a pint or two, and he got on a big drunk, and he walked off and left me. I had my car up there, so I got Warren Barker, a good car driver, a young feller, and he's well acquainted with me, and I got him to drive my car, and so we went over to Jenkins. And Leonard, he come back from Somerset. So we over Jenkins and Mr. Cy Craft run the boarding house over there, and he was well acquainted with me. And these boys was working in the mine. They're both good guitar pickers, Jim Howell and Oscar Rutledge. And I asked them, the boys, if they would consider playing with me at some theaters of a night. They worked of a day in the mines. And they said, yes, they'd be glad to. So me and Warren Barker went ahead and built these theaters out of a day. And then these fellas, they'd, when they come out from work of the evening, after they got advertised, why they'd go in the car with us and have us play these places. I played all them theaters up by the Burdine and all them places around Jenkins, Seacold, Whitesburg, Bender Fleming's, Neon, Mac Roberts, all them places. I never did play none of Mac Roberts, but I know where it was. That's head of Kentucky River. But I played the others.
Well, when you played with Leonard, when you took Leonard to Atlanta and made the records, he played the fiddle, right?
Yes.
And what instrument did you play when
well,
you
I
played
played
with
the
Leonard?
guitar and banjo both.
Guitar and banjo.
Yes.
So if we listen to one of those records, we know he was the fiddler.
Yeah, he's a fiddler on Billy in the Low Ground and Ladies on the Steamboat, and that's me cutting up with the banjo on the other side of Ladies
Now,
on the Steamboat.
when you made the record with Oscar Rutledge, when you made Blackberry Blossom...
I played the fiddle and he played the guitar.
Then you switched over to the fiddle
Yeah.
and Oscar played the guitar.
Yes. He couldn't play nothing but the guitar.
I see. Well, what happened to Oscar?
I don't know. I expect he got killed. I don't know.
Do you think he went back to the mines after he left you?
No, I don't know where he went. I'll tell you. Now, what happened? He come through here and he left here. I was over to Coastal, Tennessee, and there's a fellow come to me there and he says, hey, me and Leonard was together then. He says, hey, I want to get you to go to Knoxville and record some records for me down there. I said, what company? He said, the Star Piano Company. Oh, I said, we're already recording for them. He said, I know, I've heard some of your records, but said, I want you to go and make some more. I said, when would you want us to go? Oh, I said, I don't know. I said, I'll let you know. He said, I'm going on to Monticello, and says, maybe find a fellow there says can let you know when to come. I told him I live in Monticello. So I said, what's your name? He said, J.C. Armstrong. Well, Leonard got a good look at him. He wore glasses. And he said, I'm going to put on the Fiddler's Contest here this week in Coastal, Tennessee. I said, sure. I said, yes. He said, I'd love you to stay and play with it. I said, well, I might do it. So after he left, I said to Leonard, I said, let's go up to the printing office and see if he's got it in the county paper. And think about it. We went up to the printing office, and he hadn't heard tell of it, hadn't heard a thing about it. I said, have you had any bills printed to that effect here? Crossing, no. Hadn't heard no bills printed, nothing. I told Leonard, I said, it's fake, ain't nothing to it. So we went ahead about our business to other places. We come on finally through to Monticello, and he'd come on to Monticello and put on a fiddler's contest here to select musicians to go and record for him. And he kept all the money himself. He didn't pay any of the musicians anything for being there.
Was that Armstrong?
Yeah, supposed to be Armstrong. And it told Cole Coffey here, he left him in charge and told Cole to select these men, the best musicians, and he'd give him a date when to come and bring them to Knoxville. Well, as soon as I come back, I met Cole over in town. Cole was telling me about it, and I said, Cole, anything in the world in that fella? I said, anything to it at all. I said, he just done that to make a lot of money. I said, you'll never hear tell of that fella anymore. Oh, yes, Cole says, you will. Says, he told me to get you and Leonard for two. Said he'd heard you play, and said, get you and Leonard, and said, get some more. And I said, all right, never he let you know why you be sure and let me know. I said, all right, he would. Well, I went ahead then, and I went right up to Ashland, Kentucky, and Harrison Bates, that used to run the barber shop here, was running the big filling station up there. And I went to Harrison Bates, was well acquainted with him. He had built a little house over my father and mother's grave, a nice little house he built over it. and he had built that house, and he stayed at our place while he's working there. I went to Harrison, I said, and Cole Coffey told me that he said he lived in Ashland, Kentucky. I said, what did he tell you his name was? He said, B.C. Baggard. I said, he told me his name was J.C. Armstrong. Well, I went to Harrison Bates, and I said, you know anybody in this town by the name of B.C. Baggard? He said, no, I don't, but let me look in the city directory. And he looked, and he says, ain't a man in this town by that name in the city directory. He said, let me look in the credit bureau, see if I can find it there. He looked and says, ain't nobody in Ashland by that name. Nobody knows nothing about it. Well, I realized he's a fake. So, later, I was in Old Virginia, and to come across the mountain down by Blackwater, put on an entertainment at Blackwater, and over to Sneedle, Cowles Ford, and went on to Rogersville, Tennessee. We drove up in Rogersville, and we hadn't got out of the car, and the fellow hollered at me. He says, hey, you know where I saw you the last time? I didn't know who it was. I said, no, where was it? He says, Crossville, Tennessee. And Leonard says he was the same fellow. I said, what are you doing down here? Yeah, I said, giving a few guitar lessons. Well, when he left this town here, Oscar Rutledge left with him. He left here with that fellow. And he was never heard tell of. He wrote one letter back to a Bertram out here at Cooper. And that's all the time he's ever been heard tell of. And we was all afraid he was murdered, to tell you the truth.
Yes.
And he left here, and I said, he walked on up to me and began to talk. I said, hey, I said, whatever become of Oscar Rutledge has left Monticello with you? He lived just that way, just hard as he could get, getting away from there. And I've never seen you hear tell him since. And I've never heard tell Oscar Rutledge since.
Well, that was a loss of a fine musician and a fine friend of yours.
Yeah.
Well, who was your partner after Oscar Rutledge?
Well, Wiley Raines traveled with me.
Wiley Raines?
Wiley Raines traveled with me about 4 years, I guess.
Did he make records?
No, he just traveled and played with me.
Well, when you went up to Richmond, who made records with you in Richmond, Indiana?
Leonard and Bert Moore from Norton, Virginia.
Where did
we recorded, I believe, two or three times. I forgot. I believe maybe just twice we recorded there.
Could you tell me where you met Bert Moore?
Yes. First time I ever met him was in Gate City, Virginia. He was running the barber shop there. And then he went from there to Norton, Virginia, and we got in touch with him there and got him to go with us to Richmond and make these records. He was one of the best guitar pickers there was in that country. Bert was really good.
Those records you made in your earlier records were a duet. Two.
Yes, just Leonard and myself.
But when you went to Richmond, they were trios.
There's three of us there.
What instruments did each play?
Well, Bert Moore picked the guitar, and I picked the banjo, and Rutherford played the fiddle.
Now, do you remember what names those were put out under?
Well, they had put part of them out under our names, and then they asked me if they could, from putting a fake name on the records, it might sell more. I said, no, I don't care what you put on it, just so I get paid for it. That's all I'm looking for. You just put anything on what you want to. So they put some Williams, Norton and Bond, and some Norton, Bunch and Bond.
Wait, Williams, Norton,
yeah,
and Bond?
Yeah.
Barnes or Bond?
Bunch and Bond, some of them. And Cumberland Gap, we played that, and really, if we did play it, it was a good record. And Norton, Bunch and Bond, I believe, was on the Cumberland Gap record.
Norton,
Bunch and Bond, I think, was on that record. And so they got them back here. They ordered some of them, and began to sell them back in this country, and they'd take them out here in the sticks and put them on the machine and begin to play. They said, why, that's Dick and Leonard, I know that music.
You mean even though the name was fake on the record, your friends
and the people in this country, every record that they bought was under a bogus name. They knew who it was that made it. They know that music.
I have one record here, Brown and Bunch. Was that
Yeah, that's one of them.
That's one of them.
What,
Yeah.
what song is it,
That's
Gene?
She's Only a Bird in a Gilded Cage.
Yeah.
Let Her Go, I'll Meet Her.
Yeah.
That was you and who else?
I believe that is, didn't we record that at Richmond?
Yes.
Yeah. Me and Leonard and Bert Moore. Let her go, I'll meet her. Let her go, I'll meet her. I forgot just how they went. I couldn't sing that song I recorded. I forgot all of
Of
them.
course, if you listen to it and hear the instrument,
Oh, if
you
I could,
can
if I could
identify
just
it.
if I could hear them songs played at times, I'd get them all back.
Yeah.
I'd get them back quick.
Well, and
But you know, I've had other jobs, and I just discontinued fooling with
I
it.
just want to run through this to be sure that in my mind I know your partners who made records. One was Leonard Rutherford.
And
The other was Oscar Rutledge, and then
Yeah. Bert Moore
Moore.
and Len Woodard.
Oh, now tell us about him. Who was Len Woodard?
Well, he was a taxi driver from Wise, Virginia to Jenkins, Kentucky. Drove a nice car. Drove a taxi there for years. And he was he had quit the taxi business and gone to work in the mines. He'd run the motor in the mines at Bonnie Blue Coal Camp, 5 miles from Pennington Gap. And I played all through that country, Benedict and Pennington Gap and Bonnie Blue and all through there, everywhere. So I was to boarding house one day, George Parsons, and he come out and sat down on the porch where I was at, and I didn't have no car with me up there then. We went up there by train. And I said, "Do any of you fellas know where I could buy me a good second-handed car?" Why, he says, "I've got a good one sitting down there at Pennington Gap." I said, "What kind is it?" He says, "It's a Dodge." Well, I had a Dodge at home. And I said, "In good running order?" He said, "There ain't a thing the matter with it, only it won't budge." He said, "The axle's broke or the pinion wheel's off the drive shaft or something." Well, I said, "What do you want for it?" And he told me. I said, "We'll go down and look at it." So we got a car and went down there and looked at it. And it's about 50, 60 yards from the garage, just sitting on the street. And I said, "Well," he said, "let's push it down to the garage." A little downgrade, and we us three just pushed it on down to the garage. And I called the mechanic. I said, "You got anything that'll fix this car?" I said, "It won't start." He said, "Maybe axle broke, or maybe a drive shaft or something. I don't know what's the matter with it." He said, "I don't know." I said, "I guess I have." He said, "I'll see what's the matter with it first." He took the nuts over the wheel and pulled the axle out. Axle broke off about 6 inches at the end of the axle broke off. "Yeah," said, "I've got an old car back there, the same model of this," said, "I can fix you up." I said, "All right, put the glasses in the headlights there, they broke out." And he got it all fixed up, and he come out, and I paid the man for the car. Now he says, "I ain't got no job. What about me getting in and driving it for you?" I said, "That just suits me. Just if you want to, just get in there." And he got in there and drove me all over this country, Indiana and Cincinnati and everywhere, and stayed with me quite a little while. And finally, why, he took a notion to leave, and he went on back to Cold Creek, Tennessee. And after that, he wrote me a card and said, "If I was in need of a man," he said, "all I had to do was let him know." He said, "Now I'll come back and drive you again." But I never did.
what was his name?
Len Woodard.
Woodard.
L-R-D. Yeah, Woodard.
He had recorded for you, for the Jeanette people.
Yeah, he's the one that helped me. We recorded, I believe, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, about 3 records me and him recorded.
Can you remember?
Just one time.
Can you remember? Instrument.
Well, he played the guitar.
Okay, start.
Yeah. Well, when you played with Len Woodward,
I think we put on a waltz, a couple of waltzes. And I forgot the name of them now.
well, when he played the guitar, what did you play?
Well, I played the fiddle.
The fiddle.
Yeah.
And can you remember some of the songs you recorded when you went to Richmond with Len Woodward?
Yes, Under the Pale Moonlight, Cumberland Gap, and I can't think of the other song. You know, I've not paid no attention for years. Not even had them on my mind.
Well, let me ask this
And,
question. When you were with Len Woodward, were you ever with Bird Moore?
No, he
No.
wasn't. Bud Moore wasn't with us. Just me and him went over there
So
from.
it's just you and Woodward.
And then
Yeah,
when
we
you
just drove over there from Newcastle, Indiana, about 30 miles.
when you were with Woodward, were you ever with Rutherford?
No,
And of course, when you were with Woodward, you were never with Rutland.
no.
So they're all separate
All
categories.
separate.
Fine. Well, Dick, what do you remember the last anything about? You remember your first recording session because you went down to Atlanta and stayed in that hotel and met Frank Walker. What do you remember of your last recording session? The last time you ever made records? Where was it?
Well, this is down there. We recorded 3 times there.
And the last one was in Richmond.
No, for Frank B. Walker, we recorded 3 times for him. Down in Atlanta, Georgia.
Oh,
And this other company was owned the Burnett Phonograph Company at Richmond, Indiana. And an old gentleman by the name of Wiggins was the superintendent. He was manager. I don't know what his given name was.
what was
He's
he
a
like?
fine old man, though. He's about 65, I'd say about 70 years old, just for a guess. And when we got through recording, he walked up to me and slapped me on the back and said, "Brother, I want to compliment you on your banjo picking. Said you're the best banjo second I ever heard in my life."
Oh, no, but that's a very good compliment. But what I wanted to know was, were your final records made for Columbia or were they made for Jeanette?
Well, Jeanette was the last company we recorded for. We didn't record any for the Columbia after we went to recording for Jeanette.
Oh, I see. And then,
We finished up for the Columbia and then went over to this other company.
why did you stop making records? What caused the end of your recording career?
Well, I couldn't make enough money to justify me.
But after you stopped making records, did you continue to play at entertainments? Did you
Oh
continue
yes,
to-
oh yes. We worked. We traveled all the time and played everywhere.
How long did you continue to play as a traveling musician? When did you finally give up making music for gain?
Well, about 13 years ago, I guess 12 or 13 years ago.
What was
Since
that?
I've been anywhere to play.
Towards the end of your playing, was it with Leonard, with Rutherford?
Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
last plan I done.
Your last partner?
Yeah.
Now,
Well, you couldn't beat him. He's one of the best fiddlers in the United States.
Well, what have you been doing in these years since you stopped playing music professionally?
Well, heap of the time, I've been a fanning out here in the yard.
I thought,
I just tinker around here, work a little. I've got a workshop.
oh, tell us a little about your workshop. Would you describe it, just what you do in the workshop and how
Well,
you made some of your tools?
I make chairs, and I've made several tools, invented several tools. Got 2 electric motors. You got electric saw and post drill, and everything out there to work with. I make chairs. And I do my own making screen doors, window screen frames. I repair fixed clocks, sewing machines, lawnmowers. Most anything comes along. And I haven't seen daylight in over almost 6 or 7 years.
You certainly went through the shop this morning. Gene and I were certainly impressed by all of your mechanical skills. You seem to be a natural-born mechanic.
Well, I just do the best I can. There might some people, I guess, could beat it, but I run the electricity out there and put in my plug-in, put my sockets up there, and done all that myself.
Well, we certainly have a good and a complete story of your growing up and your work in the oil fields, your work as a musician, and your final work here in the workshop inventing things and building chairs. I wondered if you would answer a few questions for Gene. Gene has a discography that lists many of your records, and he would like
Yes,
to
I'll
ask some
answer any of the
specific
questions.
questions.
Being a
Before
helper.
we ask that, Archie, you might just take a look at my notes there and see if you want to
Well, okay.
Gene will take over for a few minutes, and I'll fan myself a little.
Okay.
Well, Dick, before we get on discussing the record, I don't believe we got on record your full name. Would you give us your full name?
Richard Daniel Burnett.
Richard Daniel Burnett. Would you care to tell us how you lost your eyes?
Yeah, colored man shot me with a shotgun and robbed me.
Gee, that's
Shot my
terrible.
eyes out and robbed me.
That's terrible.
Was that here in Monticello?
No, I was out here about 30 miles from here on the K&T Railroad.
Were you traveling someplace?
No, I'd just been up to a store and going back home. There was just a grade in that railroad through that country then, and the Italians and colored people was all there was on the grade, working there. One fellow, they found out I had a lot of money, and they thought they'd get it, but they didn't get it. I done took it to Somerset and put it in the First National Bank just the day before that.
What railroad was it?
K&T,
What
Kentucky and Tennessee.
Oh, Kentucky and Tennessee. Is that a railroad still going?
Oh, yeah, part of it. They pulled most of the track up now. They just got a short line of it now.
I'd like to ask a little bit more about your family. I don't believe we have on tape here how you met your wife and when you got married.
Well, I was working in the Monticello oil field. I was a driller out there. And her father come out there to run a boarding house. And so he put up a good boarding house and bought all kinds of groceries, a big large Eastern wagon bed full of groceries and cigars and everything out there. And I'd been boarding up on the hill in a little cabin, crowded to death. And so when he come out there, why, I said, I'm going down to see if I can get board of them people down there. So I went down there and I walked up and asked your father, I said, I come down to see if I can get to board with you down here. I'm a driller here in the field. And he says, what's your name? I said, Dick Burnett. Dick Burnett, he said. I said, yes. He said, was you any kin to the man who used to keep store in Monticello, that's this town here, with Pearson Miller? Well, I said, I'm some akin to him. He was my daddy's brother. Oh, he says, I never had a better friend than Dick Burnett. Why, yes, he says, you can board with us. He went in and told my wife's mother, he says, Dick Burnett's out here. He says, he's a nephew of Dick Burnett. Used to keep store in Monticello. And I says, I told him we'd keep him. Says, they're good people. Says, I know them.
That's good.
And so I just boarded there, and we got to talking, and that's where we got married right there.
Uh-huh.
What was your wife's maiden name?
She was a Pratt.
What is your full name? Your Georgie?
Georgiana.
Pratt.
Georgie Anna Pratt. P-R-A-T-T?
Mm-hmm.
Good.
Her mother was raised at Cartersville, Georgia.
What year? What year did you get married?
1905.
Could you give us the date and the month and day?
What's the 11th or 12th? 11th of August,
11th of August.
1905.
Could you tell us about your children? How many you had, what their names are?
Well, we
Where
had
they
7 children, 2 boys and 5 girls. And one of the girls, Mabel, died at about 20 years old. And the Earl, my boy, he was out traveling with me playing the guitar. At the time, he had attack appendicitis. Now, I rushed him to the hospital, and he's operated on.
About your children, how many you had, what their names are?
Well, we
Where
had
they
7 children, 2 boys and 5 girls. And one of the girls, Mabel, died at about 20 years old. And the Earl, my boy, he was out traveling with me playing the guitar. At the time, he had attack appendicitis. Now, I rushed him to the hospital, and he was operated on, lived a week, and died.
Okay.
And the other girls lives in Miami, Florida. 3 of them. And the baby girl lives at Homestead, Florida. Her husband's in the Air Force there. He's a dietitian in the hospital.
Oh, we met him last
Yeah, he was here last night.
Ray.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Ray Manoni. He was raised at Olive Hill, Kentucky.
Oh, a Kentucky boy married a Kentucky girl.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. You have one boy living?
That's all. Clarence. Clarence lives in Newcastle, Indiana. He's been there about 35 years.
Mm-hmm.
He works for the Chrysler plant there.
Oh, yeah.
He's been there about 35 years.
Very good. You had...
And my two sisters, they're in Oakland, California.
Right.
They've been down there now for a number of years. I've got two sisters and one brother living yet. And he lives in Edney, Kansas. He's coming in, but some of the family, I don't know for sure whether he'll be in the bunch, but some of the family's coming in to visit us about the first of the month.
Oh.
And he's not been here for about 40 years.
Oh, boy. That'll be a treat for you and them.
Yeah.
Okay, let me ask this. Do you know whether Leonard Rutherford had recorded separately from you at any time?
Yes, he recorded with John Foster.
John Foster, right. I
Down
have some...
in Tennessee down here, at Robbins, Tennessee. At Elgin, Tennessee. Him and John Foster made several records together.
Well, John Foster came from...
J.D. Foster.
J.D. Foster, John D. Foster.
Yeah.
He came from this Tennessee? Or...
Yeah, he was raised down there at Elgin, Tennessee, right
Elgin,
where
Tennessee.
Robbins and Elgin right all right together, and the 3 mile apart.
Do you know whether he's still living or not?
No, I don't. He was the last I ever heard.
Uh-huh. And I believe Rutherford and Foster had recorded for the Jeanette Company. Is
Yeah,
that correct?
yeah, they made some records for the Jeanette Company.
Oh, what did Foster play?
He played the guitar. That's all he could play.
Uh-huh. Very good. That straightens out that little bit of information. I have some Rutherford and Foster records, and I didn't know whether it was the same.
Yeah,
Rutherford or not.
J.D., he had a brother John, but he never did play anything. And J.D., you couldn't believe nothing at all he'd tell you. He'd tell anything he doesn't wait for, he'd tell a lie about it.
That's a good comment.
I never was fooled with him myself because there wasn't nothing in him. You couldn't depend on him. But Leonard would, he'd get a lot of dope and whiskey, and him and John and take a few drinks, and then get out and start.
See,
I wasn't fooled with it myself.
well, Dick, I'm going to ask you about your songs one by one. What I'd like to know is which, on each song, which instrument you played, which instrument Leonard played, and if possible, where you had learned the song.
Well, I don't know. I learned these
to the best of your memory.
a part of these songs from old timers way back when I was a young man. Now, Whittemore, I don't know. I forgot who I learned that from.
Okay. Well, let me ask you the first song, Pearl Bryan.
Well, now that is an old one. I learned that from somebody that had the record of that. I had the book on that.
Oh.
And they told me about it, and that's where I got that.
Mm-hmm. Did you play banjo and Leonard played the fiddle?
Yes, yes.
Mm-hmm.
I played the banjo, and all of mine and Leonard recording the banjo guitar one or the other.
I see.
He done all the fiddling.
So it's automatic.
Oh, yes. Well, then all the records you had made with Leonard, he had played the fiddle.
Yeah, he used the fiddle.
Right,
And I used the banjo and guitar.
the only time you played fiddle was when you were with Rutledge.
Yeah.
Or,
But now all these other people I traveled with, well, I done the fiddling myself, and they used the banjo and guitar.
Mm-hmm.
I was the fiddler with all these other bands that ever traveled with me.
Mm-hmm.
Because I reckon I deserved it. Maybe I played in the fiddler's contest at Wayne High down here, and they give me the first prize on the banjo and fiddle both. And after Leonard dropped out, why, they considered me the best fiddler in the county.
See, that's interesting.
But Leonard would have been there, why, he'd have been the fiddler.
Figures.
But actually, I learned Leonard to play the fiddle. I made him what he was. And I know music. I learned music when the rudiments of music and the signs of music when I was a young man. I went to 5 singing schools and then got a book from the John Church Publishing Company from Louisville and studied that on up to third base where I could compose my own songs, set the music to it and time it out and everything.
Oh.
And so I learned Leonard to be the fiddler he was, but he's all the good musicians I ever didn't make a fiddler out of. I tried others, but they just couldn't do it. They didn't have the talent.
Dick, when you went to learn the science of music, did you learn the round notes or
Yes,
the shape
round notes. I know a shape note. I know the one or two shape notes, but I learned the round notes, singing by the rudiments of music, by the science of music.
And then before you lost your eyesight, you could read the round notes.
Sure, I could pick up a new song and sing it in 5 minutes.
Good.
Any songbook.
Very good.
Fine.
All us children could do that. We had a good quartet at home. I was 4 boys and the 2 girls. There were 6 of us there. Mother, when she died, there were 6 of our children at home. Wasn't any of us married. And we had a good quartet, and all of us could read music, every one of us.
See, I'd love to hear that. You sing,
Well,
sing what
if
you call
it had been in this day, we'd have had a record of that, or we'd have had it on a tape recording somewhere, but see, we had nothing like that then.
Right, well, that's one of the unfortunate things.
Yeah, we had all parts.
Well, the next song I got on here is Weeping Willow Tree. That's an old timer.
That's an old timer. I recorded that. I picked the guitar on that,
Mm-hmm.
and he played the fiddle.
Uh-huh.
Well, he played the fiddle in all of my recording for the trumpet people.
Right.
Where did you learn that Weeping Willow song?
Oh, I learned it from some fella, I don't remember who. In my travels, some fella, I sung it, and I asked him if he had the ballad of it, and I think he said he did, and I got one and just learned it. And it hadn't never been recorded then, and I recorded it. And the Roses Bloom Again, we were the first on record of that, and after that, Bob McFarlane and Lester, Bob Gardner and Lester McFarlane, they recorded it and put a little different tune to it.
Oh, yeah.
And it's been recorded, I think, a couple of different ways since we recorded it.
Sure. Well, let me ask one thing here. Who did most of the singing on your records? Did you do the singing?
I done the most of it myself. He sung the Little Stream of Whiskey. Now, he done the singing on that.
Uh-huh.
But Willie Moore and Weeping Willow and all that rest, I done the singing on all of it.
Uh-huh.
That's all the songs he sung in our recording, was the Little Stream of Whiskey.
Mm-hmm. Next song I have on here is Lost John.
And now, he did sing that.
He sang that.
Yeah, he sung that.
Remember, that was
the one record, Lost John and Roses Bloom Again on the other side.
that was quite
Yeah, he sung both of them, but the Weeping Willow and Willie Moore and My Sweetheart in Tennessee and all them others, I done the singing of them myself.
We'll get to that. And then I'll be with you with When the Roses Bloom Again. Did you sing that?
Yeah, we both sung that.
You both
I
sung
think.
that? Uh-huh.
Yeah.
A Short Life of Trouble. Remember that?
That's mine.
That's yours.
Yeah, I sung that.
You sung that and played the banjo?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Where did you learn it?
I don't remember. Just pick 'em up here and yonder and about, you know. I don't remember where I learned any of these songs.
Then this Little Stream of Whiskey, you said he sung that.
Yeah,
Right?
he got that from somebody in Somerset. I don't know who he got it from.
Mm-hmm. Are You Happy or Lonesome?
I composed that myself.
Oh, yeah.
That's one I composed.
It's a good song. You composed
Come back to me in my dreaming, come back to me once more. Come with love like dreaming, as in days of yore. Come tell me, are you happy? I can't sing it. Now I forgot them all.
Yeah. Right.
If you thought I was lonesome, would you come back to me? The days that used to be. Are you
Happy or Lonesome? Is that the way it goes?
Yeah. When the life verse, when the sun is sinking in the golden west, and the birds and flowers, they have all gone to rest, Come tell me that you love me, and say your heart will be true. Are you still happy, I wonder? Are you lonesome too?
Mm-hmm.
I composed all of that
You
song.
composed, you sang it and played the banjo,
Uh-huh.
and Leonard played the fiddle.
I believe I don't know. I believe I picked the guitar on that. I'm not sure.
Oh, okay. Well, you can check that out.
Yeah, I
About
think I
listening.
did.
Mhm.
I think I played the guitar on that tune.
My Sweetheart in Tennessee.
I composed that one too.
Mm-hmm. You sang that one too, did you?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Ladies on the Steamboat.
That's an old timer. I don't know where we got. But that is an old time dance song.
Mm-hmm.
That's on the other side of Bill in the Low Ground.
That's right.
And Ramblin' Reckless Hobo, I got that from somebody that's been out west, I think, sometime or another, but I forgot who it was. And he sung that, and I got it.
Uh-huh. Then Curly-Headed Woman.
Yeah. That's one of Get Up. I made part of that, not all of it.
Mm-hmm.
Just put words in, you know, where they fit best, and took some out and one thing or other. That's what I used to do if I had a song that if I get from somebody else. If it wasn't just like I thought it should be, I'd take words out and put other words in.
Sure. Then I have two more here. All Night Long Blues.
Yeah.
You remember
Yeah.
where you learned that one?
No, I don't. I learned some of these blues singers somewhere. I don't know where.
Mm-hmm. You sang that, did you?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and then Willie Moore.
Willie Moore.
Last night you said you remembered the name of the man that you first heard sing Willie Moore.
No, I don't remember who the fellow was. I sung it myself. I recorded it myself.
Can you
But
remember?
I don't know where I got it. I got it from some fella way back when I was a young man. Somebody I heard sing that, and I just learned
Well,
it.
was that here in Wayne County?
Yes, it's here in this county.
About how old were you when you first heard someone sing Willie Moore?
Oh, I don't know. I was, I guess, 14, 15 years old, something like that.
Please,
Something like that.
please. In that connection, what's the oldest song that you know that you remember from your earliest childhood? What would be the first song you can remember?
Well, they're sacred songs. My grandfather was a religious man, and my daddy was the clerk of the United Baptist Church as long as he lived. And the first songs I ever sung was all sacred songs.
So, could you name one or two? What were the sacred songs that were popular around these times?
Well, Children of the Heavenly King. Sing a little of it.
Yeah.
Children of the Heavenly King, as we journey sweetly sing, sing your Savior's worthy slain, glory in His works and ways. We are traveling home to God in the way our Father trod. They are happy now with me, soon their happiness shall see. That's one of my grandfather's favorite songs.
Would you classify that, Archie, as a Christian harmony song?
Yes. Yes. Was that a shape note song out of the old?
Yes, that was in the old Southern Harmony songbook.
William Walker collected a lot of those old songs, and they put them in the Harmony songbook. Did you know that period, the lone pilgrims?
No, I don't, but I've heard that. I don't know that.
There was one, though, the
Yeah,
wayfaring,
I know, the wayfaring man.
wayfaring traveler,
Yeah,
wayfaring
way
man.
traveler. I've heard that sing. I've heard that over the radio. They sing out of Jamestown, Tennessee, over CLC radio over there once in a while. But I never did learn that.
One that you just sang for us, what name did your grandfather give it?
Well, children of the Heavenly King, I think was the name, was the
Children
title
of
of
the
it.
Heavenly King. Well, those were
And
the...
then, Am I a Soldier of the Cross, a Follower of the Lamb? I guess you fellows have heard
Yeah.
that song.
Yeah.
That is another one of the songs they sung there. And When I Can Read My Title, Clear Dimensions in the Skies is another one. And, I was a leader of that class there for years. Me and my three brothers was leader of that class there for 50 years. My older brother, that was 15 years, 12, almost 15 years older than me, led the class on down for years, and then the next oldest brother, 6 years older than me, led the class. And older than me, he led the class. And I was leader of the class then for a long time until I moved away from there.
When you say leader of the class, what, do you mean the singing school
Yeah,
class?
a singing class, the church class, you know.
Yeah. Well, these were the church songs that you remember from your early childhood.
Yeah.
How about the other kinds, the ballads? You know, the ones that aren't religious. What are some of the
Oh,
old you remember?
Well, I don't know. I never paid much attention to that part of it until I went to put these on record.
Oh.
In fact, I never did fool with them any. So
Oh.
I got a chance to record them, you know. Of course, I'd sing them out in these here theaters and places
Yeah.
like that, you know, and
Well,
and have big laughs and things like that.
Well, earlier you told us how you made this first trip with Leonard Rutherford when he was 12 or 13. You took the first, bus, and then you took the train and you started some entertaining. What kind of songs did you sing in those entertainments?
Well, some sort of like these, not all, different songs, love songs. Not all, different songs, love songs, and things like that.
Did you ever sing any comic songs to make
Yeah.
the people laugh?
Let me sing you one.
Yeah.
I'm all the person living that knows this song. There's another person in the world that knows this but me. My brother did, but he died a year ago, a little over a year ago. Come, friend, and relations, I'll sing you a song concerning the time it should last you long. Since everyone is striving to bite and cheating your neighbors, they take a delight in its hard times. And fathers and mothers and brothers, sisters, well, so on to cousins that cheat one another. And cheating becomes a much in the fashion after it was spread quite over the nation, that's hard times. Now here's the Methodist riding and go with the ruffles and the buckles to make a great show. They call the tavern but brandy and wine, a fairly good man as the gallows will find in its hard times. Now here's the old Baptist reporting a battle. I think it'd be right for to give them a flout. They read you chapter for you to go by, and when they get through they will tell you a lie, and it's hard times. Now here's the old shoemaker, the worst of them all. He's all time sewing with his ends and his alls. He'll sew and he'll sew an inch as a clip, and he'll sweat to the board as a shoe that won't rip, and it's hard times. Now here's the old doctor that like to forgot, well, I believe to my soul he's the worst of the flock. He says it's your shoe for half you possess, and when you are jailer take all of the rest, and it's hard times. Now here's the old woman, she's almighty slow, she's got no money to pay as she goes. She called up her geese, she thinks it's no harm, and she'll pay you off in feathers as long as your arm, and it's hard done. Now I've concluded to finish my song, and don't think I've said anything wrong. If you're not ready when you're called, the Lord will depart, and the devil take all, and it's hard done.
Hey, that's wonderful. That was good.
Well,
Now I'll sing you another one. You'll never hear nobody else that knows this. You wouldn't never find a man in the world that knows it but me. I'm all the man living that knows it. Living that knows it. I went to California in the year of '76, and when I landed I was in an awful fix. I had no money, me victuals had to buy. The only thing I had was a loose hog and I went out in the country and I went to making hay. The wages that I got was $1.50 a day. For whining in the night, they ain't no use to cry. There's no use in whining when it's loose hog and I went to the Sacramento a day or two. There I met some strangers which is happy what you do. Then a game of poker, he handles cards so sly. He soon got all my money and said, now Ruth hog and I. This made me mad then, and I began to swear. I poured the corn juice down me like a on a tear. The marshal of the city was standing very nearby. He put me in the calaboose to Ruth hog and I. About this time I began to repent. They'd fined me $20 and I hadn't nearly a cent. As luck might have it, a friend was standing by. He paid off my fine, said, now Ruth hog and I.
That's great, Dick. That's really great.
Dick, when you in that Hard Time song, just a little while ago you sang us a song about the Jolly Butcher, and you had a line in the Jolly Butcher about hard times.
Yes, I know it is.
Were the two songs related?
Yeah, that's different altogether, yeah.
Different?
Yeah.
Did you use the melody of one for the melody of the other?
No, not a bit, no.
Would you do a little of the melody of the Jolly Butcher one more time so we get a good...
Father and his son runs a butcher's shop. I didn't know, but I just about forgot. They'll sell you the meat at 25 cents a pound. The sweat good weight runs like 10 pounds, and it's hard times and a bad way to live. Come on, boys, and don't be too lazy. The butcher shop, the place to get your pork chop and gravy.
Fine.
That's the first verse.
Now, would you sing the first verse of Hard Times, because I want to learn the difference in the two melodies.
Some friends and relations, I'll sing you a song concerning a... No. I went... Let's see. Yeah, that's it.
That's it.
Some friends and relations, I'll sing you a song concerning the time it didn't last too long. Since everyone is starting to bite and cheating your neighbors, they take a delight in its hard times.
Fine.
Yeah, that's different. That one don't apply to the
Yes.
other at all.
That gives me a chance to compare the two versions.
Yeah.
Well, Gene, did you have some other listings past the Columbia records? Maybe
Well, let me ask you, Archie, did you get the full story on Blackberry Blossom?
Yes.
Well, there's really only one other, I believe, here, Sleeping Lulu. Could you tell us about that?
Yes, I learned that from a fellow that used to be at Jamestown, Tennessee, Bill Piercy. He was a good fiddler, an old man, and he played with me there, and that's the first man I ever heard play Sleeping Lulu. And Elmer Stanley was that Stanley boy that I was telling you about yesterday. I couldn't think of his given name, but Elmer was his given name. He used to play the fiddle with me there, too. Mighty good fiddler, Elmer was, and Bill Piercy was the best fiddler in that country.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Dick, last night you told us about a fiddler who could fiddle so good you could hear the mockingbird.
That's Arthur Smith. Arthur Smith.
Smith.
Used to live at Murfreesboro, Tennessee. That's him and Homer. That's where they used to live. They were brothers. Homer picked the guitar, and Arthur played the fiddle. And he played that mockingbird so plain you could see the feathers flying, almost. Yeah.
That's good. He is a good fiddler.
I heard lots of fiddlers, but Arthur Smith was the best on mockingbird I ever listened to. He tried to get me to travel with him at one time, but we wasn't in shape to take on any more at that time. You mighty fine fellow, Arthur Smith is.
Did you ever hear any fiddler who played a lot of animal songs, like Cluck Old Hen or Johnson, Old Gray Mule?
Yes, I played them on the fiddle.
Did you play those yourself?
I did. I played them.
Did Leonard play them too?
No, he couldn't. He couldn't play them. There's lots of songs that I played on the fiddle he couldn't play at all. I played the Train 45, B.C. Grayson's train song, you know. And then a Whitter that they recorded.
Or did you learn it from Grayson or from
I learned
his
it from the record.
You learned it from his record?
Uh-huh.
Did you ever know a fiddler from up in Cranberry, North Carolina, Clarence Green?
Yes. He played the fiddle with me in La Follette, Tennessee one time. And he played the old cackling hand. He was about as good on that as anybody I ever listened to. Old cackling hand. And
what do you remember of Clarence Green?
well, I was just with him at that fair. That was the whole time ever I was with him. The county fair was going on there. And he was there. And the boy said he wore a plug hat. And they called him Derby or Darby Green. That's what they called him. Derby Green or Darby Green.
Probably from the hat he wore.
Yeah, I suppose. They took their name from the hat. And Bob Gardner lived there at that time. And I was staying with Bob Gardner. Blind man used to work over WLS, him and Lester McFarland.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I stayed with him during the fair that week there.
Mm-hmm. That was Bob Gardner of the McFarland and Gardner
Yes.
team.
Mm-hmm. And Lester McFarland married a sister to Loy Parsons that was killed on Pine Mountain in Harlan County. And she was working at the Piedmont Hotel in Middlesboro there. And I've been with them. I was personally acquainted with both of them, well acquainted with them.
Mm-hmm.
Been in their homes. But but Lester and his wife separated, and Bob's wife left him, and he married again, went down there to the wall and found another woman down there, below Knoxville, and married her, and I reckon they got along good after that, as far as I ever know. And then went to Chicago and stayed there for a long time. Broadcast over WLS. I don't know whether they're living yet or not.
Well, Dick, you told us that you sang quite a few songs in the coal camps for the coal miners. Did you ever hear anyone around a coal camp sing any song like The Dream of the Miner's Child, or any songs about explosions or wrecks, or songs about how hard it was to work in the mines?
No, I didn't, but I've heard Ernest Ford, he made one. I've heard that on...
Which one?
It's Ernie Ford.
Oh, yes, Tennessee Ernie
Yeah,
Ford.
Tennessee Ernie.
Well, when did you hear him?
Well, I heard him over the radio the other day. It ain't been long back that I heard him, I suppose it's a record.
And
It's talking about the miners, you know.
you mean that as dark as a dungeon, or 16 tons?
He's 16 ton.
Oh.
Ernie's a good, and I'd love to be with him. I like that fella.
Well, when you hear a song on the radio, can you catch it from the radio?
Oh, yeah. I kind of hard try,
Yes.
but and since I've quit playing music, I don't try anymore. I used to play the Double Eagle March, and I cooked that off a record, and the Wednesday Night Waltz, and the Good Night Waltz. And I sold records here, and I got all of them off the records and played them.
Well, a little while ago, you told us about the old songs that you learned, say the old Sacred Harp songs, you know, and the Christian Harmony songs. Well, could you give me an example of a recent song that you learned from the radio, or you say within the last 10 or 15 years? What would be one of your new songs or recent songs?
Oh, I haven't learned any. I never tried to learn them Ernie Ford, but I've heard them. I could get them if I wanted to, but I don't need to.
What's the last song you learned from the radio or from a record? You know, the most recent one.
Well, I wouldn't hardly know. I haven't learned any for a while. Off the record, of course, it's been for several years that I haven't sold records.
Well, from Mrs. Burnett, can you remember?
And I don't try to get any of them that I hear over the record. I tell you the fact about the most of them's rock and roll, and I've got no use for them. And I don't try to learn them.
You don't like the rock and roll?
No,
music?
sir, I absolutely don't.
Well, what do you think of the Nashville, the Grand Ole Opry music?
Well, they've got some good musicians. Bill Monroe and them Foggy Mountain boys came to beat. They're fine. They're Kentucky boys.
Well, you ever heard Flat and Scruggs?
Oh, yes. I've been Flat was raised out over here in Rutherford County, I think. He's a preacher. His daddy was a preacher, I think.
You
And
like,
Earl Scruggs, he's the best banjo picker I ever listened to in my life.
you like Flatten Scruggs?
Yes, I do. I think I know what music is. I'm a pretty good music detective.
Well, how about the other ones on Grand Ole Opry, like Don Gibson and Hank Lachlan, and what do you know, the other kind of music on the Opry? How do you like that?
Well, part of it I'll do very well. Thomas Jackson's a good fiddler, but he cuts it all to pieces with his bow, with his fiddle bow, and he shouldn't do it. Bob Simmons is the best fiddler that I know of that's on the radio. If he's still living, I don't know whether he's still living or not, but he's the best fiddler that I know of right now, if he's still living.